Imagine being only 23 years old and discovering the first successful treatment for one of the most feared diseases in the world. Now imagine your discovery saving thousands of lives while your name disappears from history. This is the powerful and long overlooked story of Alice Augusta Ball, the brilliant chemist who created the first effective treatment for leprosy and whose work changed medicine forever. Alice Augusta Ball was born on July 24, 1892 in Seattle, Washington. She grew up in a family that deeply valued education, creativity, and curiosity. Her father, James Ball, worked as a lawyer and newspaper editor, while her mother, Laura Louise Ball, was a photographer. But perhaps the most fascinating influence in Alice's life was her grandfather, James Presley Ball Sr. Her grandfather was a pioneering photographer who mastered the daguerreotype process, one of the earliest forms of photography. He photographed important historical figures such as Frederick Douglass and Charles Dickens. Young Alice often spent time around his photography equipment and chemical solutions, unknowingly developing an early fascination with chemistry that would shape the rest of her life. Alice quickly proved herself to be an exceptional student. At Seattle High School, she excelled academically despite being one of only a small number of Black students at the school during a time of widespread racial discrimination in the United States. Her dedication to learning led her to the University of Washington, where she pursued studies in pharmaceutical chemistry and pharmacy. In 1912, she earned a degree in pharmaceutical chemistry, and 2 years later, she completed a second degree in pharmacy. This achievement made her the first African-American woman to graduate from the University of Washington with a degree in pharmaceutical chemistry. Even as a student, Alice was already contributing to scientific research. Her early work involved analyzing the chemical properties of kava plants. Her research was so impressive that she co-authored a scientific paper titled Benzoylations in Ether Solution, which was published in the Journal of the American Chemical Society. For a young scientist in the early 1900s, this was an extraordinary accomplishment. Her talent earned her a scholarship to continue her education at the College of Hawaii, which is now the University of Hawaii. There, she continued studying plant chemistry and became the first African American woman to earn a master's degree from the institution. But it was during this time in Hawaii that Alice Ball would make the discovery that would change medical history. In the early 20th century, one of the most feared diseases in the world was Hansen's disease, more commonly known as leprosy. The disease caused severe nerve damage, skin lesions, and disfigurement. People diagnosed with leprosy were often forcibly removed from their homes and sent to isolated colonies where they were separated from their families and communities. In Hawaii, thousands of patients were sent to the remote settlement of Kalaupapa on the island of Molokai. Many were legally declared dead by the government once they arrived there. Families were torn apart, and children born to infected parents were taken away. Doctors have been trying to treat the disease using chalmugra oil, a natural oil extracted from seeds of a tree found in Asia. While the oil showed some potential against the bacteria that caused leprosy, it had a major problem. The oil was extremely thick and sticky. When patients swallowed it, their bodies could not absorb it properly. When doctors tried injecting it, the injections were incredibly painful and often caused severe side effects. This is where Alice Ball entered the picture. A physician named Dr. Harry Holman believed that if the active compounds in chalmugra oil could be chemically modified, the treatment might finally work. Knowing Alice Ball's expertise in chemistry, he asked for her help. Using her deep understanding of organic chemistry, Ball began experimenting with the oil in the laboratory. She carefully isolated the active fatty acids in the oil and then converted them into a form that could dissolve in water and be safely injected into patients. What she created became known as the Ball method. By transforming the oil into injectable ethyl esters, Ball made it possible for the treatment to be absorbed by the human body. For the first time, doctors had a treatment that could actually stop the progression of leprosy and relieve patients' symptoms. The impact was enormous. Patients who had once faced lifelong exile now had hope of recovery and the possibility of returning home to their families. Doctors around the world began using the Ball method, and it remained the most effective treatment for leprosy until antibiotics were developed in the 1940s. At just 23 years old, Alice Ball had achieved a medical breakthrough that would save countless lives. Because of her extraordinary work, the College of Hawaii offered her a position as an instructor in chemistry. This made her both the first woman and the first African American to hold that position at the institution. But tragically, Alice Ball would never fully see the impact of her discovery. In 1916, only a year after developing her revolutionary treatment, Ball suddenly became seriously ill. Some reports suggest that she may have been exposed to chlorine gas during a laboratory accident. Other records simply describe a sudden illness. Whatever the cause, her health declined rapidly, and she passed away at just 24 years old. Her death was heartbreaking for the scientific community, but what happened next would make her story even more tragic. After Alice Ball died, a chemist named Arthur Dean, who worked at the same college, continued the research she had started. Instead of crediting Ball for the discovery, Dean published papers describing the treatment as if it were his own work. He even renamed the process the Dean Method. For decades, textbooks, journals, and historians credited Arthur Dean with discovering the treatment for leprosy. Alice Ball's name was almost completely erased from the story. It was not until years later that the truth began to surface. Dr. Harry Holman, the physician who had originally worked with Ball, eventually spoke out and confirmed that Alice Ball had been the scientist responsible for the discovery. Later research by historians and scholars uncovered her original thesis and laboratory work, proving that the breakthrough was truly hers. Slowly but surely, Alice Ball began to receive the recognition she deserved. The University of Hawaii honored her legacy by installing a plaque in her name on campus and dedicating a chalmugra tree to her memory. February 28th is now celebrated as Alice Ball Day in Hawaii, recognizing her incredible contributions to science and medicine. Scholarships have been created in her name to support future chemists and encourage more diversity in the field of science. In 2022, Alice Augusta Ball was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame, finally receiving national recognition for the life-saving discovery she made more than a century earlier. Today, Alice Ball's story is remembered as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. Her brilliance, determination, and curiosity led to a medical breakthrough that saved thousands of lives. At the same time, the erasure of her work reminds us how easily contributions from women and scientists of color have been overlooked throughout history. But history is beginning to correct itself. Alice Ball is no longer the forgotten scientist. She is now recognized as one of the most important chemists of the early 20th century and a pioneer whose work transformed the treatment of Hansen's disease. And it all started with a curious young student who loved chemistry and refused to stop searching for answers. The next time you hear about breakthroughs in medicine, remember the name Alice Augusta Ball, the young chemist whose discovery changed the world. Thank you for watching. Stories like Alice Ball's remind us that history still holds powerful voices that deserve to be heard. A young Black woman changed the course of medical history and saved countless lives, yet for decades, her name was nearly forgotten. By sharing stories like hers, we make sure that brilliance, courage, and truth are never erased again. If you enjoyed this story and want to discover more hidden figures, forgotten breakthroughs, and powerful moments from history, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Every week, we uncover stories that deserve the spotlight. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us as we bring the shadows of history back into the light. And remember, sometimes the people who change the world are the ones history almost forgot.